There were about 100 places this one could have gone crazy wrong, but props to San Antonio PD for making it right in the end. Hi everyone, welcome to today's badge cam lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Williver. As you heard in the introduction, today's video comes to us from what might be becoming the new Houston, San Antonio, Texas.
Mr. Target is the sponsor of today's video. If you're looking for excellently engineered steel targets that will withstand thousands and thousands of pistol, rifle, or shotgun rounds, Mr. Target is my go-to resource. They've got self-sealing rubber targets too, and you can see us use them all the time on the Active Self-Protection Extra YouTube channel. Hit the link in the description to check Mr. Target out and be sure to thank them for sponsoring today's video. Officers are initiating a stop on this guy who they have been camped out looking for. He's got a bunch of aggravated robbery and robbery warrants, and this guy is a violent felon. And so there was a bunch of low marked vehicles and unmarked vehicles following him. They got some marked cars and have lit him up, and they're trying to get him into custody. Well, you're gonna see the officer from the front kind of boxes him in, and then he's gonna go to the side. He's gonna see two females in the front seat of the vehicle, and then our suspect in the back seat. Well, watch what happens. You're gonna see the female in the driver's seat. She's gonna bail, which is smart money on her part here. You see her opening the door here and bailing. I think that the second female stayed in the car with him, but now watch our suspect play a little bit of whack-a-mole there, and then he is gonna jump in the driver's seat and then run from these officers. Now, they're gonna initiate a high-speed traffic stop, or high-speed chase at this point. They're gonna chase him down the road at high speed for a long time. He's gonna go the wrong way up an on-ramp here in just a minute. And when he goes the wrong way up that on-ramp, it is gonna make everything go south because he's gonna get up the on-ramp, but when he gets to the light at the top of the on-ramp, he's gonna cause a really wicked car crash here. And you're gonna see him bash into the right rear quarter panel of somebody. Officer smashes into him. Then he's gonna take off with a gun from the crime scene. Officer's gonna chase him. Now, I don't have one that's got good audio here. And so the officer then sees him. He's gonna point a gun back at the officer. They're gonna exchange fire. And one of the shots from our perp is actually going to hit the officer in the arm. Thankfully, it only hit him in the arm. Gonna see the second officer show up. He has a tourniquet on his person and is gonna put it on this first officer. We don't really get to see that too well, and then get back in the fight. Well, our ne'er-do-well here has climbed onto the freeway, and so they're trying to shoot at him while he's on the freeway, trying to carjack another car. So he's got his gun out, pointing it at people, and they are, of course, moving around him like crazy, trying not to cause other car crashes or get carjacked in the moment. So now watch our officers jump out, more cops show up, and they start putting shots on him, playing a little bit of Frogger, if you're familiar with the Atari 2600, and they're gonna end up hitting him at those significant distances. Now watch here at the very end, he is putting shots down towards cars, trying to get them to stop at this point. These officers absolutely had to get him stopped. They did. He took the freeway temperature challenge. Yeah, I think some people are gonna be like, hey man, wait a minute, with like 2 San Antonio in a row. I mean, I don't program this stuff. Sometimes it's just how it goes.
It's not a good trend.
Mike, I know you had some thoughts about this miscreant as this traffic stop begins.
Yeah, thanks for cutting to me immediately, John. This guy, the moment here we're about to see after they get him stopped, the female half gets out and he pops his little noggin out with his beady little eyes and looks back at the police officer as if to say, hey, F you, I'm going to do what I want. This is a predator. This is a very bad guy. This is a guy who doesn't care who he hurts, how dangerous this pursuit is, doesn't matter to him one bit. All he cares about is himself. All he cares about is getting away. And this is the kind of guy that me and my partners pursued on a regular basis. And I can't say enough about the pursuit part of this, as we're going to see in a moment. John and I don't love pursuits. We don't love them when they're not absolutely necessary. I think this pursuit was largely justified. Generally speaking, if it's a pursuit over, the guy did a California roll and then didn't pull over or whatever, if you don't have anything serious, we prefer that you cut these off and try to catch him another day. However, with this guy, we know he's a real violent actor, and he's almost certainly going to commit more violence later on. So it's important that we try to catch up to him, and that's what they did here.
Yeah, they really did. And, we do say this all the time here at Active Self-Protection, and that is just to be really cognizant of the cost of, these high-speed chases. Because what we see right here is this just In the black SUV, this is just some poor, innocent person on their way and about their day. And of course, that's going to impact them maybe for the rest of their life. Now maybe the safety systems in the car protect them from serious injury, but it's just worth reminding ourselves that the reason that we're reticent on high-speed chases, some of them are necessary, but the reason that we're reticent, we want you to just think through, is because of the cost for the bystanders. Now, that being the case as well, I also want to notice here, I really think, Mike, the officer who was in pursuit using his vehicle here and smashing the crap out of the back of this guy's car, also justified, but I do worry about the woman who's still in the car with him too.
Yeah, I don't know if they knew there was a third party in there. We had another one recently where there was a small child, a real piece of work that guy was too, by the way, a small child in the vehicle. It's tough to know if they knew that or not. However, I honestly don't have a big problem with him using the car to get him away from the rest of these people. I might even have pushed him all the way over into that opposite guardrail just to get him away from the, this cluster of other cars and innocent third parties. I know some people want that officer to be written up for failure to yield and, not stopping in a timely fashion, the boulevard rule and all that. No, I think that was intentional. I think he wanted to get this car and this knucklehead away from those folks. Did he know there was a third party in the car? We have no way of knowing. If he did know that, does this change his calculus? Could be. I can't be sure. I can't get inside of his head to tell you that, but I have no problem with him moving the guy out of the way. You see how fast this guy jumped out of the car after that second collision. He doesn't, all that matters to him is getting away and not going to jail, and that makes him a very dangerous actor.
Well, and then clearly here, he is going to then turn around with a gun in his hand and point it at the officer. And we can see that just absolutely clear as a bell here. And the officer puts fire towards him. Dangerous, of course, because we got a backstop that we don't have a lot of margin for. But I also want to note here, Mike, luck is a two-way street. We say all the time, you can't count on luck, but luck counts. And it counts both ways. And here, unfortunately, our perp gets a shot on the arm of our officer. And so a couple things to remember there. Keep your medical kit on your person. Make sure, officers, that you have your individual first aid kit on your person. And number two, if you can stay in the fight, that guy's trying to kill you. You might want to be better at this game than he is.
Remember the difference here between the officer who's badge camera watching and this absolute miscreant is one thing and one thing only. The officer cares about who might be in the background. The officer cares about not hitting that person in the car just to the right of where we're seeing the suspect right now. Suspect has no compunction whatsoever about shooting, blasting away in whatever direction he wants, hopefully hitting the officer so we can get away. He doesn't care about innocent third parties. He's shown that here a number of times, to include the only person in his car who he went on this high-speed pursuit with. So he doesn't care about anybody but himself. And so, yeah, he's going to be able to blaze away with impunity here, knowing that I hit the officer, I don't hit the officer, whatever. I just want to get away so I can start shooting. The officer's got to think about what and who is in the background.
He does have to think about who's in the background. Also, for the bystander in the car, if you see somebody shooting at the cops, I think it would be dangerous to step in, but certainly you'd be justified to do so if you're a high responder. So if you put that guy under your tires, I think you're lauded as a hero, quite frankly. Now, I also want to note here, Mike, our officer who's shot, he needs his tourniquet on his person. And look who shows up. This might be one of the most squared away officers that I've ever seen. I just want to take a minute and look. This guy, his uniform is squared away. He's got his rifle slung. His haircut is on point. That dude looks like he's fit. And he's the one who shows up with a tourniquet, which means his first aid kit is on his person. This is the kind of officer that I want 100 of, for goodness sakes. Good for him for that. And the way that you carry yourself matters, officers. And so be this guy.
Yeah, I've told you this 100 times, folks at home watching. Your appearance as a law enforcement officer is the lowest rung of the old use of force continuum. I don't think they use it anymore, but the lowest rung was called officer presence. What that literally means is, how do you look and how do you carry yourself? Do you look like you know what you're doing? Is your uniform squared away? Or do you have a giant mustard stain on your tie and, half of your uniform shirt's untucked or whatever? This guy looks the part. This guy imbues you with confidence. The moment you lay eyes on him, you're like, oh, okay, I think we're going to be all right. This guy knows what he's doing. He's squared away. John, the moment he got close enough for me to recognize the fact that he had donned the Oakleys of justice, I knew everything was going to be okay.
The Oakleys of justice. Okay, again, I think a little bit old school, right? So, the Atari 2600 reference and the Oakleys reference, oh boy, dated pop culture references are just what we do here at Active Self-Protection. They're not just a motto, but a way of life. Good job on this officer for being ready for that. And then getting in the fight, too. Because listen, this guy is really in trouble. Now, this is a different officer who shows up with a rifle, and I want to notice a couple things here. You know, I'm going to give him a hard time about not using his sling. Just take that sling and throw it over your head. Then that way, if you need both hands for something else, you can use them. Secondarily here, this is not a heavy level high shot for a patrol carbine. It's not nothing though. So I do think officers, if you're going to have a patrol carbine, and I believe every patrol officer in America should have a patrol carbine, that means you got to take your carbine training and your carbine skills very, very seriously, because you may need it to end a deadly threat to everyone.
Yeah, 100%. There, John, I said it, 100%. I knew you were waiting for that. Listen, a patrol rifle is so critically important. If I had my druthers, every single deputy, every agent, every parole officer, every police officer in the country would have one in his or her vehicle at all times and have it available to them for just such an occasion. Now, it doesn't have to be, Captain Dirtbag trying to get away by crossing the freeway and you have this long shot. It could be there is a mass shooter. It could be there's a school shooter. It could be there's just a real bad problem and it's just kind of far away. And it'd be really nice to have, a decent AR pattern rifle or something like it with an optic that I have dialed in to the perfect amount. And now I can make this shot with confidence. I'm not sure this officer or deputy, how squared away he was with the rifle. Again, we would prefer to use the sling. As soon as it comes out of the car, just throw the sling on, right? This is a doable shot, but this goes to show you that it's not a gimme. It's not 100%. You still have to get to the range and practice your marksmanship and do this force on force training. So in this moment, you can make the shot the first time and not the third or fourth time.
That's exactly it. You got to know that you're doing it. Now, I know some folks are going to say here, Mike, well, wait a minute, why didn't one of these private citizens run him over with the car? And really what I want to say about that, I mean, the guy's pointing a gun at all these cars trying to carjack another car. I think anybody would have been justified. However, I want to say they are probably only seeing this guy for a couple of seconds. Most people don't look nearly far enough down the road in front of them. They don't have enough vision in order to see this guy 3, even 4 seconds ahead. They're probably getting to see him for 2 seconds or less. And recognizing that, you probably just see person and want to get away from the guy. So for us as private citizens that are just driving down the road, I think the good reminder here is to be looking down the road 3, 4, 5 seconds so that you have some warning for this stuff and you're not swerving at the last minute. Yeah,
fortunately, I don't have the numbers on me, but you can look it up. If you're going freeway speed, let's go and see, you're going 65 miles an hour down the freeway. In umpteen number of seconds, you cover a certain amount of feet or yards or whatever. All I remember is it's a lot, right? This is your PSA to not be distracted, to not be on your phone, to not be, staring at the radio, to not be swatting the kids in the backseat or whatever. This is your PSA. Hey, pay attention to the road in front of you because this sort of thing is a possible thing that could happen. Doesn't have to be a bad guy with a gun. It could be a deer. It could be an innocent person. It could be someone who's having a mental break, who's trying to kill themselves, any number of things. To John's point, can the average person going freeway speed see this, determine it's a threat, and then make a decision to then strike this person to put him out of commission? Probably not. I don't think most cops, unless they were already aware this was happening, would have that kind of time and foresight. That OODA loop is a loop for a reason, and it takes a moment to go through all those steps. I don't think any of these people had that kind of time.
And I really think that's what's important here, okay? So again, the ability to perceive, to then figure out what's going on, make a course of action, and then implement that course of action, it's gonna take a couple of seconds. And that's just the way that human beings operate, right? So unless they're a superhuman, probably not gonna happen, or they knew about it coming in advance. Now let's talk about our 2 officers with the pistols here who got their business done in the end. I just wanna say, Mike, what incredible foresight that, hey, we finally put this guy down. But what I really loved is how careful they were to remove and stop shooting when their backstop changed. And that to me is, just an incredibly high level of awareness of what's going on in their world, not to mention the very high level of marksmanship. Both of these guys, I think, running iron-sighted pistols. So they're gun Amish, and getting that work done as an Amishman is, just props to them.
As someone with an Amish beard, I can speak to this, John, actually. So John mentioned Frogger earlier. I just want to correct him and say that anyone under 40 would probably consider this more of a Crossy Road issue than a Frogger issue. But with that being said, it's the same principle, right? You need, as a law enforcement officer especially, or as a private citizen who carries a firearm, your innate understanding of when to raise and lower your gun, whether it's you're walking into a house as a police officer to confront a bad guy and one of your fellow officers crosses in front of you, dipping your muzzle, whether it's that or this, your innate understanding of when to raise and lower your firearm and when to shoot and not shoot has to be so ingrained that at this moment, they're not thinking about this. I promise you, they're not going, okay, now I can come up, now I go down, now I come up. No, they're just realizing, okay, there's a bad guy. Good guy's too close. Good guy's far enough away. Now I can shoot. That's how well trained these guys are. That's their innate sort of ability, their unconscious competence and understanding when it is appropriate to shoot and when not to shoot. So just absolute kudos to them for that. Fantastic work.
Really fantastic work. I did want to say at the end as well, I mean, I really think these guys have done an excellent job and gotten a dirtbag off the street like they really needed to. Finally, as they come around here, I do want to note when our perp here is shooting at a car, this is a little different scenario here. Now, I don't blame him. If this car in white didn't recognize what was going on and just went around him fine. But you notice here, we can see 2 bullet strikes on the ground in front of this car. If you recognize that, or even that he's just pointing the gun, can you legally, and maybe should you run this guy over? Yeah. I think if I see some guy pointing a gun at me and pressing the trigger trying to get me to stop, I put him on the hood emblem every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Use that hood ornament as a front sight and put it on him every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So certainly there. But again, my thing for us as private citizens, you probably got to see far enough down the road to do that. So please remember, look a little further down the road. I think the officers involved here did a pretty darn good job. I think that they did what they had to do to protect their community and cover their ass.